Because marriage does change in retirement. In fact, we had a therapist on a prior YouTube that told us even the best of marriages are challenged by retirement. The first way to reignite your marriage is to decide a time each day to spend together.
And we do that.
It sounds simple.
I know, and we do that.
But sometimes it's not simple. In 2020 alone, 39% of all divorces in the U.S. were people over the age of 55. That is double any other age group surveyed.
We felt that when we reached retirement, the hardest part of marriage was behind us.
Listen, if you don't want to be part of the 39%, then this video is for you.
You know, we both were previously married, and we've been divorced, so we know what that's like. It wasn't our preference. It wasn't what we planned on happening. And in our first marriages, we both made the vows till death do us part. This time it's going to stick.
Fingers crossed. But like many couples, I know in my first marriage, there was a lot that held us together. And there were many forces that drew us apart. We had both changed, and maybe we grew, but we grew in different ways and along different paths with many different interests. We tried to hold it together, but in the end, we parted with mutual respect and a tremendous love for the children we had together.
And my story is pretty similar. You know, it was 25 years, and it was a long marriage, and it was a long time together. But it ended up where we ended up, and here we are, 14 years into this marriage?
Yep.
12, 13?
14.
32? How many is it?
Hike.
But before we go further, we want to introduce ourselves. My name is Mark Rollins.
And I'm Jody Rollins, and we started Retirement Transformed not only for us, but for all of you and the 10,000 people turning 65 every day.
Now, we don't focus on the financial aspects of retirement, but rather lifestyle, health, relationships, and more.
And if you're new here, please hit the subscribe button and also the notification button so you'll get notified when our videos come out. Okay, let's jump in. Because marriage does change in retirement. In fact, we had a therapist on a prior YouTube that told us even the best of marriages are challenged by retirement. The first way to reignite your marriage is to decide a time each day to spend together.
And we do that.
It sounds simple.
I know, and we do that.
But sometimes it's not simple.
Well, I think for us, I would say 6 out of 7 days, we have alone time, the two of us, in the morning where we sit and we have a cup of coffee.
And we really dedicate that time to each other to kind of think back on when we were dating and when we fell in love and all that we've built. And, spending the morning reminding each other of how we feel, describing it. And we're specific about it.
And we want you guys to do the same thing.
Absolutely.
I think that's the first thing you could probably do is find some time in the morning, or maybe it's in the evening for you if that's better, or lunchtime. But start out by just thinking back when you first met. What was it like? What was your first date? What was the first time that you made love with each other? Whoa, we went there.
Racy.
Well, I think that the important thing is to get down memory lane and
together
reignite the passion that existed back then. And even if you're not far apart right now, but you just need a little tune-up, it's still a good exercise to do.
And another way to reignite your marriage is just to open conversation. Not a closed conversation, not a regular conversation, but an open conversation with lots of questions and a lot of appreciative inquiry.
So appreciative inquiry we learned about recently, and it's just asking one question, and then on top of that, another one, and then another one, and really trying to go deeper to learn what the other person really wants from you, or what they like, or what they don't like. But it's really important to do that. And when you're listening to them, don't be thinking of what you're going to say next. Just really appreciate that they're talking to you in an honest and open way, and just really listen to what they're saying. And when they're done, then you could think about what you want to say. It's a good exercise.
You may have spent years passing each other in the night, or maybe just seeing each other on weekends, or maybe one of you have been retired for a while and the new person has come in and is disrupting your established routine. All of this causes stress.
So, begin to plan your days. Don't depend on each other as much as supporting each other. We don't want one to lean on the other, particularly if one of you is a stay-at-home person, you've been retired for 5 years, the other person shows up, don't just screw up their life. Find out what it is. Go deeper. Find out what the other person needs from you right now. Don't assume anything.
Yeah, I agree. You almost want to treat this phase as like starting over and be open about it. Challenge each other with ways to connect.
Okay. Another way to reignite your relationship, we ready? Is to bring sex back. You know, it's a difficult topic to talk about. And that's why so many couples don't talk about it. When we have couples that we coach and we go through this exercise with worksheets, it's so surprising how one of them thinks everything's fine and the other person doesn't. So you've got to be able to, again, open up a line of communication to talk about your desire to have sex or lack of desire and how to fix it.
We had a great episode with a sex therapist, and the link will be below. Nancy Lucas spoke to us in a caring way about how sex changes as we age. You should watch that, and maybe watch it with your partner or significant other and see where it takes you.
Yeah.
So here's another way to reignite your relationship. Find something to do together. You know, maybe you already play golf or pickleball or, you know, another sport, tennis, and maybe that's great. But you know what's important is to make sure you find something that you can do together, because when you do that, you create stories, memories, things to laugh about, things to maybe be competitive over, and all of those things can deepen your relationship.
We hear so many couples who say they have nothing in common. And frankly, that's just an excuse. Instead of trying to like what the other person likes, it's just not going to happen. Find something new for both of you, so you both give it a shot.
So you both stink at it, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so you're both learning together.
We jumped into golf. I used to be a really good golfer, and I stepped away for 15 years, so it's almost like I started over. But we're both starting over and having a good time with it. We did dance lessons.
Now that we're both terrible at.
Well, but you know, the point is, we're both terrible at it. We both kind of like it. We keep going back for lessons. But the other thing we did, we started this business together. Right. So, you know, it's just find something new that you two can start together. Be surprised how much fun you'll have.
You can even enhance that by finding another couple to do something with and make it fun. You know, we go to dance lessons and then we always have date night after for dinner. So think back on what you did when you first met. You know, was it going to the movies or the theater or cooking classes or a musical or playing an instrument, whatever it was? Think back and re-engage with that.
We did an episode, I think, on trying new things in retirement. We'll put that link down below as well, because you've got to have an open mind to think about some new things that you can do.
Okay, another way to reignite your relationship may be a bit harder, but depending on what your relationship feels like, consider therapy. There is no shame here in therapy, and many couples enter retirement in a bad way and need professional help.
And don't give up. You know, try as hard as you can to not only survive, but thrive. We had therapy together before we even got married 13 years ago.
Right.
The idea was we both came from failed marriages. We didn't want that to happen again. What is it we could do differently to listen to each other, to communicate, all the tools and strategies that we have so we don't end up getting divorced? So, since we were divorced, we wanted to make sure that we got it straight this time.
Right, and got all the help that we needed. You know, it's hard to admit when there are problems, but it's harder to live with the problems and be caring and loving in your relationship all at the same time. Entering retirement has its own set of challenges, and try not to make your relationship one of the big ones.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about strengthening your relationship in retirement, we did a video on keeping the magic alive, which you can watch next. It's going to be right up here. Listen, if you enjoyed this, please share with your friends, and also please subscribe by clicking the subscribe button.
And finally, join our free Facebook community. The link is in the notes below.
Thanks for listening, and we'll be back with you again soon.